can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. Too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Boy, all that like Keenan. Still got crack, they fiendin'. Flow still hot like Phoenix. Shine so bright, I'm gleaming. This off top, I'm tweaking. Fresh out the rat like Neiman. And I'm still tryna fight my demons. Cause we all gotta act like Tina. That's why I gotta ride with the Nina. Outside, it's a war going on. Maybe put my hands on my head like the Macarena. They want you walking on board like chemo. And give an F to you like John Cena. Putting blood on the brand new Beamer. Tryna earn 8 stripes like Adidas. You get cold when you ride with the heater. It'll turn you to a dog like a keto. And expose to a cat like a cheetah. They smoke my partner like reefer. Dímelo porque o no entiendo. Mi gente must really need Jesus. They shed real blood. I never seen the crypt and I believe it. It's too easy. Too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. I can do this with my eyes closed. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's too easy. I've been there, done it, seen it. Y'all just talk, don't live it. And just took that route, that seen it. And I'm so outspoken like Reason. Jimmy Neutron, boy, young G's. And I'm a self-made man out of Sweden. And it's still off top, I'm tweaking. But I still gotta fight.
Hey, Carmination, what's going on? This is episode number 3 of our new live stream, our show, Ball Don't Lie, with Dead Prez Picks, We Beat the Spread, and Slam the Bookie, who just shot an air ball for not. He did not make that clutch shot. That was an air ball for while his team was down by 20. Anyway, so we're going to do for this particular one, because like yesterday, we had so much go right on the stream. Let's start off with this particular one by going over our plays on the pod yesterday. You guys could talk in any order you want to. Just go ahead and mention those. But I do want to say first, make sure you guys are following this channel. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed. We are doing a cash giveaway at 5,000 subscribers. So make sure you are subscribed to that. But whoever wants to go first, tell them what you remind them what you said on the pod, and then let's go from there.
Ben, go ahead.
Ben, go first.
So Utah Valley had minus 10.5. They won by 40, easy win. Wasn't even worried about it at one point. That one was pretty easy, you know. Nevada, easy, South Dakota State over 161. Looked a little bit sweaty in the first half. I think they had 80s. I mean, it was on pace. It was about halfway there. They ended up putting up a crazy amount in the second half. South Dakota State put up over 100. They hit 175. So that was 2-0 on the show yesterday.
All right, I'll go next, and then Chris, you can go. But yeah, my show plays ended up evening out. You would have made a little bit of money because Providence was at a plus money price when we locked them in. But yeah, Providence took care of business against Northwestern. That game was pretty controlled by Providence from the tip. Pretty much, I think they actually did lead the entire game. So good win there. And then the first half under College Charleston, they just shot the ball well. And, you know, it ended up where, you know, we couldn't control it with fouls. I think combined the teams had like 23 first half fouls. So it was more so the free throw line killed us there and kind of killed any chance of that thing going under. But Slam, how'd your plays do yesterday?
Went 2-0 yesterday, boys. First play was Ohio State plus the 3. They just shot really well yesterday, especially from the 3-point line. Shot 51%. 10 and 20 from threes. And the last minute of the game got kind of crazy. I don't know if maybe I got really lucky, but Johnson made that last minute 3 to kind of win the game. But it was the right side, so I'll take that win. And then another play was Virginia minus the 8. It was a scary game until the last minute of the game where Virginia got that cover. Ended up winning by 10. Georgia can fight, but they just overall they turned the ball over too many times, and defensively Virginia played really well. Offensively they struggled. I would say I got pretty lucky with both wins, but hey, 2-0, I'll take it.
All right, now I was gonna say I always want to go to Ben first. I don't know why. He's got that face. He's just kind of got that face. But let's go to Matt here first on this one. So guys, we do have a lot more some more time on this particular podcast. If you do have questions, please drop them in the chat. And if you have any question about a particular game or that they're not mentioning or something they do mention, anything under the sun, drop them in chat. So we like to do these live streams, so you guys have the ability to do that. But let's go to Matt first. Matt, which game are you targeting here on the first go around?
So we can start with this Oregon game tonight, guys, against St. Mary's. I will be on the Ducks tonight at -2. I actually backed St. Mary's last night against Notre Dame, stayed up late here on the East Coast. I think didn't tip till almost midnight, and it was pretty ugly from the start to finish. It looks like a YMCA type of game. I mean, it was just a lot of back and forth, a lot of missed shots, turnovers. Pretty ugly game overall. St. Mary's did squeak it out. But I think Oregon, guys, tonight is just the superior team. I think this line's a bit disrespectful to the Ducks. It might be a little bit of a reaction also by the Bucks to the way they played against BYU, because Oregon got their doors blown off in that game. I think St. Mary's is a little bit of a combination of, yes, they do play good defense, but I think their games are so low scoring because their offense just goes ungodly slow. So they use the entire shot clock. I'm high on this Oregon team. I was high coming in. I think they just kind of laid an egg against BYU. But look, they've had some impressive wins too. They also blew out SMU, who's a very good basketball team. So I'm going to be back on the Ducks tonight here, guys, at -2 in this game. I think Oregon is the much better team, and I think they beat up on St. Mary's tonight.
We have Sharp Lines in chat said that we beat the spread looks like Josh McCown, and now I can't unsee it. No, I can't unsee it. But let's go to Josh McCown for this next one here, because we did have a question from Xavier in the chat. Can 0-5 Bellarmine, I have no idea how to pronounce that school. Can 0-5 Bellarmine cover the 6.5-point spread, which, speak of the devil, is one of Ben's picks for this pod. So go ahead, man.
That's a great question, because I am on Bellarmine -6.5, -105 over at Bovada right now. To be honest, I've watched Bellarmine quite a bit. I was a fan favorite there since they just became D1 last year. I don't know. There's something about them. They played Duke, and it was kind of a fun game. And they drew a short straw for sure this year, because they've already played 3 of the top 10 teams. They played Purdue, UCLA, and Gonzaga. So that definitely attributes to that 0-5 record. I don't think it really tells the story, because, I mean, what are you supposed to do when you're a new D1 program trying to play top 10 teams? I mean, of course, they're not going to win those games. So, I mean, were they competitive? Not really, but they have played a few competitive games. I mean, they played St. Mary's within double digits. They did only lose to 13 at UCLA. I mean, maybe UCLA is a little bit of a look-ahead spot, but they played them pretty tough still. I mean, 13 against the number 2 team. Scott Davenport, he's a great coach. He's built quite a program there. And they have really experienced team. They have 4 senior starters on their team, so they got the experience, and that is something Central Michigan does not have. They've had a ton of turnover in the offseason. They actually have a new coach, Tony Barbie, and they don't have any of their returning starters. So they have a really new team, not too many seniors. So it's really kind of an experience versus an inexperience thing. And Bellarmine has actually showed that they have some fight in them, where Central Michigan, they haven't played really any games that competitive this year. Sure, they have a win, but I mean, I think the experience is the difference here. I think Bellarmine is due for their first big win. Not only a win, but I think they definitely do cover here and win by double digits.
All right, before we get to Slam's first of 20 picks on this podcast, let's go to a question here in chat. We got Sports Technique on Twitter says, anybody has any insight can answer this one. Can Mercer cover a 6-point spread? Anybody look at Mercer tonight?
Who do they play?
I do not have that matchup pulled up in front of me. I just have the Mercer question in the chat here.
They play Buck now.
Let me see.
Yeah, I didn't have any action on this game. I don't know if you boys did.
I did somewhat look at it. I didn't really love it. It didn't seem like there's really an edge on either side. The only thing I really took away from it is the pace that Bucknell plays. They do play pretty quick, and they shoot all right. Mercer, for me, they're not super impressive. They don't have any wins yet against a D1 team. So I don't know. I don't know if I'd take them on a spread like that just to win by more than a few possessions in a game. But I didn't really have anything on it, so I can't say anything for sure. But I'd probably lean off Mercer if it was me.
All right, Slam, hit us with your first one for this one. Let's go with the Nevada game. What are you looking at?
All right, cool. I was actually looking at the game right now. George Mason at Nevada, line sitting at 3.5. Right off the bat, this line just looks really sketchy to me. George Mason is just a all-around better team, playing pretty good basketball. Lost their 2 games, but Nevada just hasn't been playing well at all. But they're favored here, -3 right now, and George Mason plays. They shoot well from the threes. So Nevada, if Nevada wins this game and covers, they would have to play outstanding defense, which they struggled yesterday. Handy had that over, went way over. But I think this line is sharp tonight. I'm gonna have to. I'm trusting the line here. I'm taking Nevada -3. I'm gonna buy that hook, bring it down to 3. But yeah, I like Nevada in a bounce back spot here, and they get a win over George Mason.
All right, I'm actually going to stick with you for this next one because we do have a question in chat. Tim in chat says, did they already discuss the Houston game? And I know that's one of your ones you have there. So if you want to go ahead and follow up with the Wisconsin-Houston pick you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. So looking at this line again, 7.5. Pretty small line for a Wisconsin or for a Houston game. In my opinion, I'm staying away from the spread here. I think Houston rolls, in my opinion, but I don't know, because it's just hard to cap a side here. But for me, I'm playing the under here. I like it at 123. Wisconsin coming off a good win against A&M. Yesterday, I was watching that game. I thought A&M was going to roll. They were up like 26-10, but Wisconsin played outstanding defense and pretty much beat them by like 11. So I don't think they can do it against this Houston team. Defensively, Houston is a pretty balanced team. They're great on defense, great on offense, and Wisconsin's going to struggle today. And they're going to have to rely on their defense. I think both teams defensively are going to play great. They're going to lock up, and they're both pretty slow tempo teams. So I like the under here at 123. I'm going to add that one to my VIP as well. So take the under here, guys.
All right.
If I could piggyback on that, actually, sorry, quick. I was watching quite a bit of that Wisconsin game yesterday, and Stephen Crowell is their sophomore inside the paint, and he was getting doubled by Texas A&M, and he was like turning it over like crazy. I don't know how many turnovers he had, but I watched at least 3 or 4 in like a 10-minute span. And if they were struggling against Texas A&M in that first half, they got hot in the second half. But I mean, I can't imagine what they would do against the Houston defense. So I mean, I definitely think Houston would be the side there just because of that. I mean, if they're going to win this game, they're going to have to make threes, or if they're going to keep the game even close. Exactly. And they're not a very good 3-point shooting team. They're 29% from 3 so far this year. So, I mean, if they're going to stay in it, I think they got to hit their shots from outside. Crowell's not really getting it done down low. Maybe he'll develop into a better player. He's only a sophomore right now. But at least for now, it seems like he wasn't very comfortable against a decent defense. Now he's facing an elite defense. I don't think that really is good news for Wisconsin. So, yeah.
All right. I know Matt's targeting one of the bigger featured games of the slate, if you will. UCLA and the Zags. I know we were talking a little bit before the stream started, but what are you actually targeting in this matchup here, Matt?
Yeah, so obviously this is going to probably be the most bet on game tonight, right? It's definitely the best game that we've seen to this point in the young season. But I know we were kind of going back and forth even before, amongst us talking about this game. I think 7 is a bit too much here for this UCLA team. I put out something earlier this week and got a little bit of feedback on it, and a lot of people didn't agree, but I don't think Gonzaga is the best team in the country this season. I think it's Purdue actually overall, but I think talent-wise, UCLA and Gonzaga are fairly evenly matched. I'm a big fan of Mick Cronin. I think he'll have a conscious plan going into this game of how to defend Drew Timme, because that's where Gonzaga is going to look to go. You have to keep in mind also, obviously, Cody Riley's still out for UCLA. He's the top big guy. But Miles Johnson was a guy that went out in the transfer portal and landed from Rutgers, one of the best rim protectors in the country. So I think Johnson will be able to handle his own in this spot. They're going to force Gonzaga to make other guys beat you. Does Gonzaga have those guys? Of course they do. They're pretty loaded all around. But I think the game plan for Timmy will be pretty balanced. And you got to remember, UCLA, they pretty much brought back everybody from that, Cinderella run, if you would. I keep saying I don't know how Tiger Campbell's still in college, but he is. So he's still running the point guard. Johnny Juzang, we know he could have went to the league. I mean, he's one of the best scorers. He might be the best, pure scorer in college basketball when he's hot. I mean, he can get it going as well. So this is a UCLA team, guys. This is the most points UCLA will get all season. I promise you that. So getting 7 points with this Bruins team. And we were talking about this also. It's not like the game's at Gonzaga, right? It's a neutral site game. So I think it's just far too many points, guys, in this spot. So I will be on the dog in this thing. I'm throwing a little bit on the money line, but my official play in this one will be UCLA at +7. I got -115 juice on that as well. I'm going for that for about a unit tonight.
All right, now let's go back to our small school specialist, Mr. Ben, a.k.a. Josh McCown himself, playing that first half South Dakota State, even a smaller school. What you got, Ben?
Yep, both SDSUs, so they can be a little confusing. But yeah, back in the small school again, and if I had to put a confidence level on my plays so far on the show, this is probably my most confident so far.
Say the word.
For a few reasons.
Slam's waiting on it.
Matt's play, yep. South Dakota State, they're obviously, from the over I took yesterday, they're a powerhouse offense. They have Noah Friedel, Baylor Shearman, and Alex Arians. They're the top 3 scorers, or I should say top 3 field goal shooting percentages on the team. And they're just lighting it up. They're leading an offense that's shooting 59% from the field, which is 15th in D1 right now. And then you look at Washington, who they're playing. They shoot 39.5% from the field. So you have a 20% difference there in how they shoot from the field, and I think that tells part of the story. But I mean, they're just first half wise. While I'm targeting the first half, Washington starts pretty slow usually in their games, and they wake up. They haven't been playing any powerhouses necessarily, and they've still been down, I think, in 2 of their games against teams that most of us wouldn't ever bet on. Maybe I would because they're smaller schools, but they're slower starters for sure. And I've watched a little bit of how they play, and they're definitely more of a second half team. If I had to, say they're a second half team. South Dakota State is pretty much the opposite. They put their foot on the pedal from the first 10 minutes, which is actually where they score most of their points. They're very fast starters. And the reason I think that works so well for them is then once you get that pace set, they kind of set the pace. Once they've scored so much in the first 10 minutes, the other team has to start, okay, the pressure's on, they got to score to keep up with them. And that's why they've had some good success here and why they're such good shooters. They come out really strong, and I think that they can definitely be up 3 here. They were up 20, I think, on Nevada yesterday. They put up over 50. And, I mean, Washington hasn't looked very impressive. I'd say they're more impressive than Nevada. So, I mean, if they can put up 20, and they've been up every halftime so far this year except for 1 game, and that was against Bama. On the road, they were down by 3 at halftime. They were down 1 possession against Bama. And that's pretty impressive to me. So I definitely think they're the better first half team, and they will be up at least double digits at halftime here. That's what I think. And it's only a 1 possession spread for the first half line here. So I definitely love South Dakota State first half -3.
Brandon in chat apparently likes your how much you love that play. He replied with "Pay my rent, baby. Let's go."
Yep. It's a rent
there
play.
you go.
The rent play, yeah.
It looks like it's a TK on Twitter says thoughts on Oregon St. Mary's. So even if you catch this stream in the middle of it, so if you just tune in right now, you're like, man, I wonder what they said for the previous 20 minutes or the first 20 minutes of the show. The millisecond the show is over with, as soon as we sign off, it is replayable. So you can go back, you can fast forward, rewind, do all that stuff, which is a huge benefit of doing this live. You can just rewind when you need to. But let's go to Slam, who is also looking at something in the Arkansas game. What are you hitting for that one?
Arkansas game. Okay. Line sitting at -5. Cincinnati's off a great win against Illinois. They were getting +9.5, and won outright yesterday. They play great defense. they don't turn the ball over a lot. And now today they're plus points. But looking at this line, I think I like Arkansas in this spot right here. Lean Arkansas. But it is a hard game to bet right now. So I don't know, because they both match up really well. So I don't have any official play, but if I did play it, I lean Arkansas here.
Yeah, if I can hop into on that game real quick, I do think it's a good spot for Arkansas tonight. Cincinnati's coming off a little bit. Probably they're definitely their biggest win of the year, but it could be a little bit of a letdown spot here for Cincinnati. I like Arkansas first half. It's one of the better teams offensively in the country. And I think Cincinnati played a little bit over their heads last night. So I will also agree with you there, Chris. I think it's an Arkansas play, but I do like Arkansas first half jumping out to a quick lead.
I got another question here in chat. Anybody have any thoughts on? I don't think we touched on this one yet. Virginia and Providence.
Yeah, this is one.
That's Dead's play.
Yeah, I was already on Virginia earlier in the day at +3. I believe it did drop to 2. Still like it. I just think this is going to be an extremely slow, dragged out type of paced game, kind of similar to that Notre Dame St. Mary's last night. So, if you can get a team with the points, I think it'll come down to the last few possessions. Virginia offensively, we kind of know their MO, right, for the last few seasons. They've always kind of been a defensive-minded team and getting it done defensively. But I think offensively they have guys who are capable of performing. They just haven't to this point. Reese Beekman's one of those guys who I think will really start stepping it up. We've mentioned Franklin. He's been shooting the basketball well. Providence, I've been on them this year. I'm 3-0 on them. They were good to me yesterday again. It's a team I really do like. But I think it's a bit of a letdown spot for Providence tonight. Virginia's had the tougher schedule to this point. They've really competed tough in the majority of their games outside of that Houston game where they were kind of dominated. But I think Virginia, guys, is the play in this game tonight as the slight dogs. Like I said, I got them at +3. I still feel comfortable. Even on the money line tonight, I think they win this thing outright.
All right, Tyler, another question in chat here. Tyler says, does anybody have any thoughts on Portland State with Portland at +9 currently?
That's Ben's game.
That's a Ben type.
Ask Ben.
What's funny is I actually did look at this one, and
of course you did, Ben.
I was kind of surprised. I mean, I didn't look deep into it, but when I saw Portland at 4-1, I was like, all right, what's going on here? They've played some pretty bad teams, so that's why they're 4-1. But they've been winning. So the thing to me with that is that if they're playing bad teams, sure, like on paper, Portland should be a much worse team. But I mean, they've won close games, and they've been, they beat Morgan State by double digits. And, with these bad teams, a lot of the times I like to look at is, do they beat other bad teams? Of course, they're going to lose. These smaller programs are going to lose to the big teams. But if they're 4-1, they've been beating. I mean, one of those was D3 school. But when you get a spread like that, I think, are they +7 right now? Yeah, +7. What I like about those kind of spreads when they've been winning is it shows that they can at least perform against their level of team. And so they're a really good free throw shooting team that could come into effect in a +7 spread, near the end of the game. If they, get fouled on a 3, even to just backdoor that, sometimes they foul on the 3 to not let them get the shot up, and they're a good free throw shooting team. So, I mean, that alone could be enough. But yeah, when you have a few possessions like that against a team that is facing other bad schools, that's what I like to look at. So I wouldn't make it necessarily like a confident play, just because they may be overperforming a little bit and they're due for like a big loss. But Portland State hasn't necessarily played anyone yet. They've played only one D1 game so far, and that was against Oregon State. They only lost by 9, but then again, you think, did they overperform in that game as well? So it's a hard one for me. If I had to, I'd probably take the points there, though, with Portland.
All right. It looks like we're pretty caught up on the questions in the chat. So we have probably got a few more minutes here. If you guys want to drop any more questions in chat, go ahead and do it ASAP. But while we wait on anything else, is there any other plays we have not touched on? Anybody else has any 2 cents on that they want to share with us?
I'm going to talk about this play. Georgia at Northwestern. I've been watching Georgia games lately because I've been fading them. Yesterday took Virginia. Yeah, Georgia's getting +8 again. I think lined open at 11, dropped all the way down to 8. Georgia's not a good team. They can't score, and now they're playing a Northwestern team that can score. But this line is off to me. I like Georgia in this spot right now. I think they cover, if not get an upset here today. It's kind of hard for me to throw some stats in there because it's a Georgia team that isn't good at all at anything. But in college basketball and basketball in general, there's upsets, and I think this is a good upset spot that does not make any sense. I would play Georgia plus the 8. Maybe if you're risky, maybe a little money line. But Pete Nance has been playing amazing. If they can stop Pete Nance, I feel like they could potentially win. But that's my thoughts. Dad, you got anything?
Yeah, I got one.
Back me up.
I mean, I don't think Georgia's as bad as you're saying here. They're not like Chicago State bad. They've competed. Like, they lost to Cincinnati by 5, right? Like, we just saw Cincinnati kind of blow out Illinois. They lost to Tech by 10. That was a bad loss. But last night, I know you were on Virginia, Chris, but didn't you think that game it was pretty back and forth? Like, Georgia could have easily covered that if they didn't kind of choke it away at the end. So
I mean, they had 16 turnovers. So if they can limit turnovers today, they could pretty much cover.
Yeah, so I think in these neutral site tournament games, guys, like when you see these power conference schools meet up, 8's a lot of points. So I'm with you here. I do like Georgia in this spot. Braylon Bridges, he's been pretty much their catalyst scoring wise, but I mean, they have some other guys who can still go. Obviously, they did have a little bit of turnover in the portal, but Aaron Cook, another experienced guard for them, he's another guy who can get it going. I do like this Northwestern team. I did fade them last night against Providence, but I've been on them a couple times when they were playing, some pretty bad teams, and they were able to beat up. You mentioned Pete Nance. Chris is a guy who can really get it going. I mean, he's pretty much their team on the offensive end when he's right. Bo Bowie is another guy though who can really, when he's hot, he had a little bit of a takeover there in that first half last night, get it going for Northwestern. So it'll be a tough game, but I'm surprised the line here is at 8. I have this closer to like a 4.5, 5 point spread. So I will also be on the Bulldogs with you, Chris.
I think Ben was going to say something earlier that you had another play, Ben. Is that right?
Yeah, not on Georgia or anything. But another one.
It's too big of a school for you. They're too big.
It's too big. I don't play Power Fives. I stay out of the Power Five. Which is actually funny because the next one I was going to talk about is Florida Gulf Coast. They're playing Rhode Island. I guess that kind of counts as a bigger school. But Florida Gulf Coast. The reason I do like them tonight, +5. So they got 2 possessions there. They played Loyola Chicago and USC. Those are the 2 D1 schools they played. And those are like 2 really good defenses. They're like not, powerhouses, but they're really good defensive teams. And Florida Gulf Coast didn't necessarily, struggle that much. They lost both games by double digits. But, they kept them somewhat competitive. And those are 2 really good programs. And Florida Gulf Coast now gets to play in Rhode Island team at home, which could help out a little bit, get that crowd back into it. They're a pretty good 3-point shooting team, and they really limit their turnovers. Or they have limited their turnovers against 2 good defenses. And Rhode Island has kind of lived on the 3 per se, and that's really their most impressive thing. But the thing is they haven't really been blowing out teams. They have like 1 blowout win, and they've been playing kind of middle of the pack teams. So, if you look at that, they're playing teams around the same level as Florida Gulf Coast. They haven't really gotten any blowout ones except for 1, and now they go on the road at a team who played somewhat competitively against 2 really good defenses. And I think that Florida Gulf Coast is just getting too many here. I think they're being undervalued a little bit because they haven't really played a team that's closer to their level. They've only played – it's kind of like the same reason I'm on Bellarmine. I like those smaller schools in the spots where they've only been playing powerhouses to begin the season, and then they're being undervalued to the point where you get enough points where you're like, yeah, I can definitely back them. And then they get a surprising win. You always see those crazy upsets of those smaller schools, and it's usually these spots where they were just undervalued because they were playing crazy schools. So I like Florida Gulf Coast basically for the same reason I like Bellarmine.
I did have another Ben question that popped in chat here. Sports Technique on Twitter says UT Rio Grande +9.5. I
didn't actually look at that one too much. Yeah, I just didn't really look into that one that much. It wasn't one that really stuck out to me either way. Typically, the ones I look at with the smaller schools are ones that I look at it and initially it kind of sparked something. That one I didn't really look into much at all. So sorry about that.
That's all right. You can only cover so many small schools at once.
When you're covering 350 D1, there's 358 teams. Sometimes you can't check them all out. So
Ben just lost half of his fans. What? You didn't look at UT Rio Grande? Come on. But yeah, I got another 60 seconds here. So anybody, either of you three have anything else? Actually, I mean, it could be picks for tonight, or if it's just a traditional strategy or anything like that, something that you've been seeing that people are, I guess you're seeing trends of people that are looking at certain things that they shouldn't be, or just people that are more or less like betting blindly or whatever it may be. Is there anything strategery, college basketball betting wise, that you want to throw out there that you want to make sure people are or are not doing, or do you have another game to drop? Either one of those. Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I can hop in first. Just with this weekend, guys, being so action packed. We mentioned college basketball. It's awesome as a gambler, and doing what we all do. Obviously, games pretty much from when you wake up to go to bed, but don't bet every single one of them. Obviously, it's tough with these big cards, but you got to find a way to minimize them, not max bet everything. Keep it realistic with units, and not chasing. It's early in the college basketball season. If you're having success right now, maybe stick to it. If you're not, look for other advantages. If you're struggling with sides, maybe look into totals, or vice versa. If you're struggling with totals, maybe start looking into sides. But that's always my biggest piece of advice: bankroll management. Know yourself as a gambler. Everybody's working with different units, et cetera. But make sure because not only college basketball, but there's going to be NFL this weekend. There's going to be college football, obviously NBA, NHL. We got everything going right now, which is awesome, but it can be troublesome for some people as well. So make sure to limit what you're putting in every week.
Also, just because you're down 3 units on the day and there's a Pacific game starting at 11:30 p.m. doesn't mean you need to play it just to try and get back even on the day. That's probably some good advice.
Stay disciplined, boys.
Yeah, I've done that one too many times that I've learned now, but you don't need to chase on the day because there's always games tomorrow.
It's the beauty of the daily sports, like anything basketball.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. I hope that this podcast brings as much good fortune as yesterday's did, but we'll do the recap. Typically, the show's going to be Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, because Thursday's Thanksgiving. We'll be seeing you guys next week, Monday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. If you have any, not necessarily questions, but any hey, I wish you guys would talk more about this, not matchup-based, but just anything college basketball betting-based or betting-based in general, feel free to tweet us. Shoot us a message in our Discord by going to dfskarma.com or betkarmachat.com for our Discord link. And good luck tonight, guys. And since I won't see you till Monday, everybody have a happy holiday. Don't get too fat off the turkey, even though it's inevitable because it's freaking delicious. Enjoy your weekend, guys.
Thanks, guys.